Hey y'all, Knife Detector here, and as promised I have the first of about 5 installments of vintage knives. What we have here is a vintage Western Boy Scout knife. This is a fixed blade knife, as you can see here guys, and it's a small Western fixed blade knife. It's not a large one. You get a ruler so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see. Let's take it out. As you can see, this knife has been loved a great deal. So this knife, probably when it was new, stood at around 8 inches long, right there. And before we take a closer look at the knife, let's check out the embossing on this sheath. I am enamored and also marveled at how well this sheath has held up. I believe this knife to be probably from the 1960s or 70s, and it looks like a small fixed blade knife, something that you would be given to maybe a junior Boy Scout. I don't know very much about the Boy Scouts, but maybe for a younger child. And it fits nicely in my hand. My hand is able to get around all of it, but you can see my hand kind of wants to spill over. But when you really take a close look at this knife, you begin to realize this is about the size of a lot of bushcraft knives that are out today. Because this is all basically they really needed when they were out there on the campground. This is all they really needed. And for this being something like 30 or 40 years old, you know, I think it's held up remarkably well. And let's take a look at this beautiful handle. They use leather rounds for the handle, and then there's some type of a plastic Delrin inserts in there as well. And then the pommel is made of brass, which I think is a great idea because brass won't rust like steel. I'm sorry, not brass, aluminum, I'm sorry. This pommel is made of aluminum because it will not rust like steel, and it makes it a little bit lighter. And just to add a touch of class, they use some brass. As you can see right there, it says Western USA. Now, right up here, you have the Boy Scouts of America symbol, right up there. And right here it says Official Boy Scouts of America, right on there too, which I think is really cool. It makes this a nice vintage piece. And just to clarify, I had one of my viewers lovingly make a comment that they kind of smile when I use the word vintage. Vintage means things to different people, but to me something's vintage when it's like at least 20 years old. And I know that I probably am misusing the term vintage, but to me a vintage item is something that is at least 20 years old. Some of the knives I'm going to show you, like this one, is older than I am. I hope you guys are enjoying some of these older knives I'm going to show you. Now, when I say a knife has been loved, what I mean by that is that somebody really used this knife. They used it for its intended purpose, and this became a meaningful part of whatever they were doing at that time. When that Boy Scout used this knife, he probably used it learning about bushcraft in a Boy Scout setting, in a campground setting. So because of that, you know, I really think this knife has a lot of history. Now, not just that, this sheath itself, if this sheath were pristine, this would have the Boy Scout emblem right here, but that has long since worn out. And as you can see, I already tried to do some cleaning, but that emblem would not come back. It's just dented and scratched, and it's pretty much corroded. But like I said, this is a vintage item. And but other than that, this sheath held up pretty well. It doesn't have any tears. I could use this right now if I wanted to. And here, if it has a faint embossing of 48A on there, which is, I guess, the type of knife this is. This is a 48A fixed blade. But again, look at that beautiful embossing on there, guys. That beautiful leaf embossing. I mean, can you imagine being a young man with this strapped to the side of your belt? You probably felt like you were king of the woods with something like that right there. These had a lot of rust on them, these rivets, and I cleaned it out a little bit, but there's also some corrosion and some pitting. Realistically speaking, I know this is never going to win any beauty contests. It's never going to be in pristine condition, so I just did just a medium restoration on this, just to give it a minor cleanup. And people know when they see this knife that it is vintage. This point has been used so much, and there is some minor pitting in here. I did do a little bit of cleaning on the blade, but like I said, it's never going to be where it was. But this handle is in great shape for its age. Yeah. Gorgeous little knife, guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one yet or if I'm going to put it up for sale. How did I get this knife? Funny thing, guys, I bought a knife lot recently, and interestingly enough, you know, the asking price, I think the starting bid or best offer was like 59 something. This was one of 4 knives. There was also 2 Rough Rider knives I'm going to show you later on in other videos. And the fish knife that's coming up also as one of these 5 videos that I'm showing you of vintage knives. And I made an offer to the seller, and I asked, I'm only interested in the Rough Rider knives. You can go ahead and keep the Boy Scout knife and keep the fish knife. And so then he messaged me back that he just accepted my offer, and the $30 would be fine for all 4 knives. Of course, that's plus shipping, $8 shipping. And because he had trouble changing the offer settings on eBay, and he didn't want to mess with that, so he just took my $30. And I thought, well, that was very generous of him, and I thanked him a lot. So I got 4 knives out of this. I only expected to get the 2 Rough Riders, 2 yellow Rough Riders. As you guys know, I'm a sucker for a yellow handled knife, but I'm going to show you those 2 interesting Rough Riders later on in subsequent videos after I have my little series on vintage knives. But I wanted to show this to you guys. Tell me what you think. Have any of you guys used this model before when you were in the Boy Scouts? Was this given as a gift to you, or do you remember your friends having this model? This is the 48A, I believe it was. Was it 48A or 47? It's right in there. You can barely see it. 48A, I believe, is what it is. Yeah. All right, guys. So this has been the Knife Detector. I try and show you knives you don't see every day. Maybe knives that you can go your whole lifetime and never even knew existed. So I like to show you those kinds of knives in my channel. The seldom seen or spoken of, you know, those types of knives. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you. Stay safe. Keep your knives sharp. Keep your wits even sharper.